Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this one, we wanted to follow up on the last video we did about polyamorous and monogamous relationships because we had a lot of requests on social media to do this. And our focus...
I have quite a few friends that have children that engage in that style of relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So they wanted to know how to position it well, right?
Yep. So our focus in this video is on parenthood and children when you're in a polyamorous relationship. And not everyone, in those relationships has children, and that's great. But for those of you that do, we do think that there are trade-offs that you're making, and we want to help you be able to better navigate them with your children. So, as one example of this, one of the big trade-offs you're making is that it really complicates your family dynamics.
Why is that an issue? Why should they?
Because children don't have the mental capacity to understand why adults engage in a lot of the behaviors that they do.
Yeah, I don't think they would really understand until they hit like 7 or 8 that they are different, really. They would just see it as chaos and stress.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
And there's going to be a lot of trickle down from this one because the complicated family dynamics leads to several of the other things that we're going to mention in a trickle down effect. One of them being like role ambiguity. So, who is the father and who is the mother? If you're all in a relationship together, who are the primary caretakers? Child doesn't know. They just know that there's a bunch of adults in their life, right?
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing because there's families that have 2 fathers and 2 mothers, right?
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of.
Yes, exactly.
Other children are not going to understand that because most family systems are a mother and a father.
And here's where things can go sideways with that. What if you have, a non-biological parent that's been involved for, years and years, and then you decide to end that polyamorous relationship with them? The child, to them, that's their parent, and you're basically divorcing them, even though, in your head, they weren't, a biological parent, right? But the child can't differentiate between that. They can't say, oh, that was...
They still attached.
Yes, exactly. They still have attachment to those figures. And so, when you think about all the negative effects that a divorce in a monogamous relationship has, a lot of those things are going to transfer over to separating from a polyamorous relationship too.
But times 10 if you're cycling through partners. I mean, it depends on how your relationships are set up and the boundaries you have and the communication that you have with exes, when you decide to part ways with them.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of context involved here. And again, our point is to just make you aware.
We're making a lot of generalizations so you can be aware.
Yeah.
And position things so you can benefit the most from it.
Yep, exactly. So, kind of related to that, one that could go either way is resource allocation. So on the one hand, if you have more parents or adults in the household, you have more resources available to use for those children, right? But depending on how things are set up, if that child's only getting your resources and now you have to split them with other adults as well, then that's a detriment.
The child will have less resources.
Yeah.
And you have to think about it too. If it's not the other people's biological child, unconsciously they're not going to want to share as much. There's something different with biological children. You just want to share more, and so there is that undercurrent.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to pool their resources as much. I mean, they will. Or a lot of people will, but they're going to do it begrudgingly, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So resource division is something else to keep in mind in figuring out the best way to navigate that.
Is your child going to miss out on dance lessons, right? Because because you're taking 5 people out on a date.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably not in your child's best interest if you have to make those decisions.
Yeah, I agree. Another one is a lack of privacy, and this is simply an artifact of having a bigger household. But a part of it that obviously you can have big households in monogamous relationships too, right? You have more children, blah, blah, But the unique part of a polyamorous relationship, again, is the context. How involved is your other partners, right? Because if they aren't very involved in parenting, then it could very well be seen as, a lack of privacy by the child as they're growing older, because these people aren't seen as parent figures. It's more like they're guests that keep getting in your child's space.
Oh my gosh, anyone that has had a step parent, which is most people in today's culture, knows, like, once they hit like teen, they're gonna be like, who is this mofo? Like, why are they trying to tell me what to do?
Yeah, and a lot of these things too, we didn't mention earlier, but a lot of these things you'll notice it's bi-directional. So it's not just a strain on the child, but it can also add additional strain onto your chosen relationships. Like what Brianna just mentioned about, you have a teenager now that's getting in your face about the lack of privacy, and that's going to cause issues because you need to address it with the other partners that you have. I think social stigma is probably another big one.
And people hate hearing about social stigma there. As an adult and as me, like, I'm like push into that. Like, I fucking hate social stigmas, right? And expectations of me. Like, I will push into those. But as a child, their prefrontal cortex is not developed, and it's more detrimental to them. Just think back to like high school.
Yeah.
All of us know how rotten kids are.
Well, children, like young kids, are highly impressionable. And then, during that stage and as they get through their teenage years, they're as they get older, they might be less impressionable, but they're highly susceptible to peer pressures and social stigmas. And so, I mean, is your kid going to get bullied because, they have 2 moms, 2 dads, 4 parents, or whatever your setup is? Like, we as adults could look at that and be like I
get
don't,
over it.
Yeah, like I don't care what they think, they're dumb, or that's not even something that you could shame me about because I have no shame around it. But kids are different.
Yeah, kids are different.
And the fact of the matter is that society is based around monogamous relationships. Like, that is by far the dominant way relationships are set up. So you're going to have other kids that don't understand nuance and, other options.
Well, their brains can't. And that's why. And so then they're going to make fun of your child. And, I mean, then that gets into how are you setting up your relationships. And I do think the best thing, I was talking to someone about this in private messages the other day, and they are in a polyamorous relationship, but they have children. And they moved more to like a swinger style where they swap partners and their kids know nothing about it. And I think that's probably the best way to do it if you are going to engage in that, just because it protects the children.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Making it more like,
it's your private life. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty open. I don't think I could engage in that because I am very open, and you know how I am.
Yeah.
I don't like secrets. Like, that's just not how I operate for my mental health. And so there's some things that I keep from kids, but like, that's such a big piece of who you are.
Yeah. I agree with that completely. And so all of this comes back to our final point, which I already kind of mentioned, and that's just, you're going to have strained relationships. You might stress out the child might stress you out, which, will both then stress out your relationship with your partners, which then, adds more stress. You develop
resentment towards your child because you're not getting the partners that you want.
Yeah, exactly. And so your child, everything might just be more strained. Might, again, key word there, because it really depends how you set everything up. But it's important to be aware of that. There's going to probably be a higher level of baseline stress.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, awesome, guys. Hopefully you liked this video and found it informative. If you did, please give it a like, share it around, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye.